How does one truly come to know themselves, understand the world, seek out what's real and true? That's the kind of profound journey we're diving into today.
It really is. And it's a story of, well, incredible transformation, intellectually, spiritually. It's ancient, sure, but the insights into human nature, our struggles, they feel incredibly close, still relevant.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we're looking at a really foundational text,
Yeah.
a kind of self-confession, but don't think, dry philosophy.
No, not at all. It's much more like an intensely personal story, a really candid look at oneself, mixed with these deep philosophical questions and this intimate dialogue with a higher power.
It's a rich tapestry, isn't it? Personal stories, big questions.
Absolutely. And our mission really is to unpack all of this dense material, to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, maybe some surprising facts too, kind of offer you a shortcut to understanding these universal experiences: growth, struggle, the search for truth.
Okay, so let's unpack this journey. Starting right at the beginning, these earliest observations of human nature. Our source points out something about infants, their desires just unbridled, and their indignation when adults don't jump.
Yes. He talks about them avenging themselves by tears. It's quite vivid. And what he suggests is that this raw willfulness, it shapes our very first interactions.
So it's like even as babies, we're showing something fundamental.
Exactly. He looks back and realizes, this behavior reveals a basic truth about human nature, that strong, untamed will. It makes you think, doesn't it? How much of our adult selves or desires are rooted way back then?
From those first cries, then, the narrative moves into learning to speak. And this idea he has of the torrent of human custom.
Right. He describes learning language very naturally, hearing words, figuring them out from context, and getting pulled into what he calls the stormy intercourse of human life.
Stormy intercourse, I like that phrase. It captures the chaos of society.
It does. And then comes school, formal education, which he presents as, honestly, a bit of a nightmare. The pressure wasn't really about learning. It was about excelling in tongue science rhetoric, basically.
It's a praise, right, for the praise of men.
Exactly. And he talks about the miseries and mockeries, even getting beaten for not wanting to study.
And that feels so relatable, doesn't it? That pressure to perform for others. He admits he hated Greek, loved games, preferred lying fables that just tickled his ears.
Yeah, it shows that classic tension, what we're told we should learn versus what actually grabs us, what fascinates us.
Which makes you ask, how much are we still shaped by those outside pressures? He calls it the torrent of human custom. He asks, who shall stand against thee?
It's like this overwhelming force, this huge and hideous ocean, just pulling people into conformity, into desires they haven't really examined. You have to wonder how many of our own ambitions are truly ours, or just echoes from that torrent.
And that ocean starts early, with what he calls the first steps in sin. Little things, like stealing from his parents' cellar, driven by greediness, he says.
But it wasn't just about being hungry or greedy. What's really insightful is he connects it to a love of mischief, a kind of thrill in doing wrong almost for its own sake. A thirst of others' loss, he says, not even for personal gain.
And it was tied to his friends, wasn't it? Wanting to fit in, not wanting to be ashamed and not to be shameless.
Exactly. Which is more than just childhood mischief, right? It's about that deep human need to belong, even if it means doing things you know aren't right. It makes you think, how often do we even now find ourselves sort of not ashamed to be shameless just to get approval?
This early chasing after deceitful riches and vain shows, as he puts it, things that seemed important but weren't. It really does set the scene for his later, much bigger struggles with finding real truth.
Right. So from those early struggles, we move into this intellectual maze he found himself in. Always searching for truth. He really wanted to be a great speaker, eminent in eloquence.
But it was driven by vanity, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A vainglorious end, he calls it. A joy in human vanity.
Yes. And it was while chasing that he found Cicero's Hortensius. And this book, it was a turning point. It altered his mind, pushed him towards philosophy, towards seeking wisdom, not just fancy words.
But here's a fascinating twist, a real paradox. Cicero had a huge impact, but the book was missing something crucial for him.
Yes, it lacked the name of Christ, which, he says, he'd cherished since he was a baby. It was deeply ingrained, so anything without that name, even if it was brilliant or true, it just didn't fully grab him.
That's such a powerful point about how our deepest beliefs shape how we see everything else, like a filter.
Absolutely. And it helps explain why he was initially drawn to Manichaeism. Their language was appealing, smooth, he says, and they offered this big picture, A nation of darkness versus God. Detailed ideas about creation.
A whole system. Seemed comprehensive.
Right. But that didn't last. He started getting disillusioned, especially when he met Faustus, this famous Manichaean bishop.
What happened with Faustus?
Well, Faustus was eloquent, had a great reputation, but turns out he was pretty ignorant about basic science. You know, the stars, the sun, the moon, things he claimed his religion explained.
Ah, so his claims didn't match his knowledge.
Exactly. The author called it Faustus's sacrilegious presumption, claiming spiritual authority without understanding the physical world. This whole experience just fueled the author's own search for certainty. He desperately wanted to be as sure about unseen things as he was that, say, 7 and 3 are 10. He wanted proof.
So if even the famous bishop couldn't give him that certainty, where did he look next? This leads to a great story, kind of a case study against astrology. Stargazing.
Yes, the story of Firminus, a well-educated man, a rhetorician.
And the proof against astrology here seems really strong, almost ironclad, as the text suggests.
It really is compelling. Firminus himself tells the story. He and a servant's child were born at the exact same moment. Same time, same place, presumably under the exact same stars, the same constellations.
Okay, so according to astrology, their lives should have been similar.
You'd think so. But they were completely different. Firminus was noble, educated. The other child remained a slave. It's a very concrete example challenging that idea of stellar destiny.
So what was the big takeaway for the author?
He concluded that whenever astrologers did get something right, well, it wasn't skill or art, it was just chance, random coincidence. This insight really helped him break free from believing in things like divination. It's a good lesson in critical thinking, really.
The story then takes a more personal turn, focusing on relationships, grief, things we all experience. He talks about a very close friend from childhood. Too dear, he calls him.
Yes, they grew up together, school, games, everything.
And the grief when his friend dies. It's just devastatingly raw in the text. He compares them to one soul and two bodies. Life became a horror
It
afterwards.
says he loathed exceedingly to live and feared to die, and he hated death itself because it had taken his friend. It's such an honest look at how loss can just completely break your world apart, your sense of self even.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How much our identities get wrapped up in the people we love, and what happens when they're gone.
Absolutely. And running parallel to this story of loss is the constant presence of his mother, Monica, her unwavering love and faith.
Right, her constant prayers for him, following him as far as the sea, even when he didn't want her to.
There's that one incredible moment he describes. He lies to her, deceives her, so he can sail away without her. She's praying desperately that he won't go.
But he goes anyway.
He does, and looking back, he sees it as God disregarding her immediate prayer, don't let him sail, in order to answer her deeper, lifelong prayer, let him find faith. It's a really moving perspective on faith and, well, perhaps divine timing.
Her faith seems so adaptable, too, like when Ambrose asked people to stop bringing food and wine offerings to martyr shrines.
Yes, she just stopped, no argument. She shifted to quieter prayers, giving to the poor instead. Her devotion wasn't just about rigid tradition. It was deeper, more flexible.
And she never doubted he'd convert eventually, did she?
Never. She apparently told people she believed in Christ, that before she departed this life, she should see me a Catholic believer. Just total conviction.
Such powerful maternal hope.
And then her death, peaceful, at 56. His description of his own grief, it's intense but suppressed. I closed her eyes, and there flowed withal a mighty sorrow into my heart. It really speaks to that hidden struggle, trying to stay strong on the outside.
Which brings us to another important relationship, Alypius. His friend, fellow student, also went through his own struggles.
Right. Alypius shows that even good, principled people can stumble. The gladiator incident is such a vivid example.
Tell us about that.
Well, Alypius was determined not to watch the gladiatorial games. He thought they were savage. He went with friends but kept his eyes shut.
Okay, good resolve.
But then the crowd roared. He heard it, opened his eyes just a crack, saw the blood, and he was hooked. He drunk down savageness, the text says, was delighted with that guilty fight.
Wow. Just like that.
It's a really powerful reminder of how easily we can get swept away by the crowd, by intense experiences, even against our own better judgment. Human frailty, right there.
But Alypius wasn't just defined by that moment, was he? He also showed incredible integrity later.
Exactly. There's the story of him as an assessor, like a legal official. A very powerful senator tried to pressure him, even bribe him to do something illegal.
And Alypius.
He refused, flat out. Resisted the bribe, the threats. He just trampled upon them, apparently wondering how anyone could prefer gold to honesty.
So you see both sides in him. The susceptibility to temptation, but also this core of real integrity.
Precisely. It's a great contrast. It shows that character isn't just about never falling. It's about the choices you make, especially under pressure.
So all these experiences, the intellectual searching, the relationships, the losses, they lead up to this climax, this intense internal battle, and finally a breakthrough. He talks about the monstrousness of the divided will.
Yeah, this is fascinating. He's puzzled by how the mind can tell the body, say, lift your hand, and it obeys instantly. But when the mind tells itself to will something, to make a choice, to change, it resists. The mind commands the mind to will, and yet it doth not.
It's that feeling of knowing what you should do, but being unable to make yourself do it. Self-sabotage.
Exactly. And he pushes back against the Manichaean idea that this is because there are two warring natures inside us, one good, one evil.
What's his explanation instead?
He argues it's one soul fluctuating between contrary wills. It's an internal conflict within a single self, maybe a consequence, he thinks, of past choices or sin. The problem isn't some external evil force fighting him, it's his own fractured will.
And he mentions this violent habit whispering to him.
Yes. Thinkest thou, thou canst live without them? It's the voice of addiction, of deeply ingrained patterns fighting tooth and nail against any change. The pull of the familiar versus the knit for transformation.
This struggle reaches its peak in a garden.
Right. He describes himself in total emotional turmoil, a mighty storm inside, leading to a mighty shower of tears. He's alone, distraught in this garden.
And then comes the turning point, a really dramatic moment.
It is. He hears a child's voice chanting, "Take up and read, take up and read." He picks up a book nearby, the volume of the Apostle Paul's letters. Opens it randomly.
And reads.
He reads the verse, "Not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put ye on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make not provision for the flesh in concupiscence." That last bit meaning, essentially, don't cater to your disordered cravings.
And the effect is immediate.
Instantaneous. He describes it like a light, as it were, of serenity infused into my heart. All the darkness of doubt vanished away. Just like that. Peace.
Incredible. And Alypius was there too.
He was nearby, and he apparently had a similar, immediate reaction to a subsequent verse and decided then and there to follow the same path. A shared moment of clarity after so much struggle.
So the breakthrough happens, but is the fight over? Is that it?
Not quite. He makes it very clear that this is an ongoing thing, a daily battle against what he calls the threefold temptation, which kind of echoes biblical ideas.
Okay, what are the three?
First, the lust of the flesh. Basically, managing basic physical needs and pleasures, like eating and drinking. It's necessary, but there's a constant struggle not to let the sweetness take over, trying to bring my body into subjection, often through disciplines like fasting.
So managing desires without letting them rule you makes sense. What's second?
The lust of the eyes. This is about the attraction to beautiful things, fair and varied forms, bright and soft colors. The challenge isn't to hate beauty, but to resist its seductions, so they don't occupy my soul, not letting external appearances or possessions become the main focus.
Right. Keeping perspective. And the third?
The pride of life. This is a big one. The temptation to be feared and loved of men. But just for the sake of that feeling, that joy therein which is no joy. It's about ego, basically. How much should you care about praise or criticism, especially when you're being open and vulnerable, like in a confession? It's that trap of seeking validation from others.
These three temptations seem like they cover a lot of ground in the human experience.
They really do. They represent ongoing struggles, even after a major conversion or change.
Okay, let's shift to the more philosophical insights that come out of this journey. Memory, for instance, he has this amazing description of it as like vast palaces.
Yes, palaces of my memory, where are the treasures of innumerable images? He's really trying to understand what memory is.
And he hits on a paradox, right? Remembering past sadness, but feeling happy about it now.
Exactly. Which makes him wonder, is memory part of the mind? Or something else? He calls it the belly of the mind, like a storage space. And he points out that even when we forget something, it's still in there somewhere, we just can't access it immediately. Like the woman searching for her lost coin. She had to remember what she was looking for to even start searching.
That's a great analogy. And then there's his thinking on time, which feels really revolutionary.
It absolutely was for its era and still feels profound. He basically asks, how can we measure the past, which is gone, or the future, which isn't here yet? We only ever experience the present moment.
So time isn't just ticking away objectively out there.
His idea is that time exists primarily in the soul, or in the mind. He talks about three aspects of the present. The present of things past, which is memory, the present of things present, which is sight or immediate awareness, and the present of things future, which is expectation.
Memory, sight, expectation, all happening now.
Exactly. He wonders if time itself is just protraction, a kind of mental stretching out. Maybe it's of the mind itself. It shifts time from being purely external to being deeply subjective, something we actively construct through our awareness.
That really changes how you might think about your own past or future, doesn't it? It's all filtered through your present mind.
It does. And finally, he circles back to that perennial question, the problem of evil.
Where does he land on that after all his searching?
His conclusion is pretty firm by this point. Evil is not any substance. It's not a thing. Because if it were a substance created by God, it would have to be good, since he believes God made only good things.
So evil isn't a force, but what?
An absence, a lack, a privation of the good that should be there. He affirms God made us all things good, and everything created has some goodness. Evil comes in when that goodness is diminished, corrupted, or misused. It's not a thing in itself.
That's a fundamental shift from, say, the Manichaean view he once held.
Completely. It reframes the whole issue.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the enduring message here? It seems like the journey doesn't really end with the conversion.
Not at all. He stresses that growth is ongoing. Our only hope, only confidence, only assured promise is thy mercy. Confession isn't just about looking back, it's about understanding where you are now, laying bare the present self, silently and not silently.
It's about continuous self-awareness.
Yes, and humility. He has that line, our firmness, when it is thou, then is it firmness, but when our own, it is infirmity. It's about recognizing reliance, the need for grace, the fact that transformation is a process, not a single event.
What an incredible journey we've followed. Through all the struggles, the questions, the breakthroughs, it really is a profound look inside one person's life, but also much more.
Absolutely. And the key thing, I think, is that this isn't just his story from centuries ago. It holds up a mirror to so many universal human experiences, you know?
Yeah.
That search for meaning, the battle with temptation, coping with loss, the whole messy business of trying to find truth when you're surrounded by confusion.
So, maybe a final thought for you listening to this. As you reflect on everything we've discussed, what are those deep habits, those maybe unseen battles that are shaping your life right now?
And maybe think about your own memory, your own sense of time. How does looking at them in this way, as things happening inside you right now, maybe reveal something new about who you are and where you might be heading?